Hello my sweet friends and welcome to DIY with Nadia. In today's video, I'm going to make one centerpiece and 8 different wreaths using a bicycle wreath form just like this. Some of these wreaths may look a little similar, but some are using a 21-inch deco mesh or a 10-inch deco mesh or maybe a different centerpiece, but all of them are unique in their own way. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's get started. Let's go over the supplies for this wreath, starting with a gorgeous lilac 21-inch deco mesh that is 10 yards in length. I will also be using this yellow deco mesh that is 5.5 inches in width and 10 yards in length. You're not going to use the whole roll of this, maybe 1/3 to a half of this roll. The last mesh that I'm going to be using is this beautiful decorative mesh. I know it has kind of snow on it, but I love using this mesh when I make these flowers. For the leaves on my flower, I'm going to actually use a piece of felt. This is felt from the Dollar Tree. It's the soft type of felt, which is great because we do need to bring it together to make the little petals, and we'll see how this turns out. You're also going to need some pipe cleaners. You can use 3 to 4, cut them in half. You're going to have 6-inch little strips. As usual, I'll just fold them like this and put them to the side. Next, you're going to need a pack of zip ties because that is how we're going to attach all our petals. And then, of course, we're going to use a bicycle wheel wreath form. Okay, my friends, to get this party started, we are going to cut our deco mesh. Roll out my deco mesh. I'm going to be cutting my deco mesh into 10-inch strips. Before I start cutting, I want to make sure my deco mesh is fairly straight. Let me get this little corner that's sticking out. I'll be using my favorite rotary cutter, and I always have a link for this in my description box under supplies that I use daily, and also in my Amazon shop. And by the way, this little baby comes in different colors, and I love that. And it does actually come in purple. Anyone else a fan of purple? Purple is my mom's favorite color. So this little one is going to be for my mom. To collect all my petals while I'm cutting them, I have a laundry basket next to me where I'm collecting all of them. Next, we're going to take our beautiful yellow deco mesh and we're going to be cutting it to make ruffles. These are going to go in the center of our flower, and I think it's going to be so beautiful. I usually like to cut this type of deco mesh, meaning the 5.5-inch to 6-inch deco mesh for ruffles at 22 inches. You can cut a little smaller, like 20, or a little longer at 24 or 26. That's definitely up to you. The felt that I'm going to be using is actually leftover felt, and I have about 20 inches left, so I'm going to fold it in 3. It's going to go down to about 7 inches, 6.5, somewhere around there. Because this is felt, I think we're going to be just fine. Our decorative mesh is 3 yards in length, and that means it's 108 inches. If we cut our decorative mesh into 6 by 6 inch squares, that's going to give us 18 pieces, and that is exactly how many we need for this wreath. Don't you just love it when you're working on a project and you get to use up the entire roll of either ribbon or mesh or whatever you're using, and you know that nothing went to waste? For this wreath, we're going to work outside in, layer by layer, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first do the outside layer, and all I'm doing here is grab my zip tie and go in until it clicks, 1 or 2 clicks. That's it. And let it go. And this I'm going to do going all the way around to all 12 of the spikes. Now that I have a zip tie on all 12 spikes, I'm going to start by making my first petal. To get started on my petal, I'm going to make sure I have a cutting mat because I'm going to use it as a guide to make sure I'm in the center when I'm starting the petal, especially if your deco mesh doesn't have any decor. Mine does in the center. It has like these gold little foil strips, but that's okay. I'm still going to use this as a guide. All our pieces are going to have the cut edge, of course, and the factory edge. The factory edge is the really thick one. And so the first thing we're going to do after we center our little piece of deco mesh is bring the factory edge towards the center and bring the other factory edge towards the center and overlap it just a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact. The next thing I want to do is bring cut edge to cut edge. To make it easier for me, I'm going to twist it a little bit, and then all I'm doing here is cut edge to cut edge. Now I'm just going to line up my cut edge, and this is where we're going to make it zero fray. We're just going to start collecting at the edge to make sure everything is collected just like this. There is my first petal. There is my tail. And now I'm going to put my tail right into my first zip tie. Make sure everything is in and make sure both sides are even. And now I'm going to zip tie it in place. There is my first petal. How exciting. At this point, I'm really going to tug and make sure that it's nice and secure. It will still be able to go up and down. Grabbing my cute little wire cutters, I'm going to cut off the tail. If this part is bothering you, you can definitely cut that off and even it out, but it should be fine because it's all going to blend in when we put in the rest of the layers. Now we're going to move on to our next petal. First, we're going to center it on our cutting mat. Factory edge, bring that in. Factory edge, bring that in. We're just overlapping it. And then we're going to fold so that our cut edges are all together. Cut edge to cut edge. Then we're just going to line up that deco mesh to make sure that we can collect it nice and even. Starting at one side, I'm just collecting about half an inch to an inch somewhere in that area and bringing everything together. Put the tail into our zip tie. And by the way, my zip ties are the 6-inch zip ties. Cut the tail and cut any of the fraying on the deco mesh tail. As you can see, it's very tight here and it's still movable, so that if you want to make your flower a little smaller, you can definitely do that. A little larger, you can definitely do that. Now I'm going to continue and attach the rest of the petals to the outside row, and we're going to attach them to all 12 spikes. The first row of petals is all on, and at this point, you may look at your wreath and wonder, okay, how should I lay them out? Are they supposed to be sticking out? Are they supposed to be just layered one on top of the other? So here is what I do. I lay one in the back and pull one to the front. Lay one in the back and pull this next one to the front. What this does is it kind of raises the wreath a little bit. Next, I'm going to grab 12 zip ties once again and attach them to our wreath base. A few clicks. There you go. My zip ties are all on, and what we're going to do for row 2 from the outside is we're going to put a petal on every other of the spikes. So not every other. I'm attaching it just like I attached the petals in the outside row. In row 2, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. Now I'm going to grab my decorative mesh and I'm just going to gather an inch in. After I gather, I'm going to attach it, and that's it. Just gather and attach. This part's gonna go really quick. Row 2 is done. I'm going to just spread the petals out so that we can get into another row. And on this third row, we're going to do exactly what we did on row 2, except opposite. In the spikes where I have my decorative mesh, I'm going to put a petal. And in the spikes where I have my petal, I'm going to put a decorative mesh. So we're going to need 12 zip ties once again. Row 3 zip ties are all on. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my petals. I have decorative mesh on this spike, so now I'm going to put my little petal on. And we're going to move things around at the end. Right now, all we're going to worry about is putting on this third layer. All 6 petals on row 3 are on, and now I'm going to grab my decorative mesh and attach it between these petals. Look how beautiful our flower is. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit more. If you want to stop at this point and do your centerpiece, that's fine, but I'm going to stretch it out more and add another layer. That's layer number 4. Let's put on 12 more zip ties. We can always bring the petals back when we're done putting in that last row, but I like giving myself a little bit more room to put on the petals. And at this point, we're going to do the opposite of our previous row, which means where we have the decorative mesh is where a petal is going to go, and where there's a petal, a decorative mesh piece is going to go. I have a decorative mesh in this spike, so I'm putting in my petal, quick zip tie. The 4th and final layer of the petals is in, and look how thick and beautiful this wreath is. You're not going to need any more. In total, I used 18 of the decorative mesh, 30 of the petals. Now we're going to take care of the center. To make the cruffles, I have my pipe cleaners that I prepared and the pieces of Deco mesh that I cut at 22 inches. And of course, I'm going to grab a little clamp to do the cruffles. On one side, I'm going to roll about 2-3 times and clamp. Then I'm going to roll from the other side around 3 times. And then I'm going to bring everything together. Squeezing it in the center, putting my pipe cleaner right over. At this point, I like to push the cruffle forward while tightening the back, and that way we have a very fluffy cruffle. Look at that. Let's make another cruffle. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 curls. Grab it with a clamp. 1, 2, 3 curls. Bring it together. Squeeze it in the center. Grab my pipe cleaner straight over the center. Now I'm going to push the whole cruffle forward while I take care of the back. Do a few twists, and there you go. My cruffles are done. I made 7 of these. Let's see how many I can fit. I'm going to go ahead and attach one every other spike and just twist it in the back. And one I want to put straight in the center. Can you already see how pretty this is gonna be? Putting in my last cruffle right in the center, just twisting it in the back. You can definitely leave your wreath like this, especially if you're going to do 3 colors, meaning, you know, the center is 1 color, then 2 colors on the sides. But for me, I want the greenery, I want the leaves. So I'm going to grab the 3 pieces that I had. It's always better to use a square piece, but that's okay. I'm working with what I have, and I'm just going to go kitty corner to kitty corner using an accordion petal, bringing it together. Then I'm going to use a zip tie and zip tie it in the center because we are dealing with felt and it's a little bit on the thicker side. Now we're going to take both of our leaves and overlap them a little bit, just like this. The part where our zip tie is, we're just going to gather. Because this part is bulky, we're going to put it underneath. Grab another zip tie. Now I'm going to tug a little bit, making sure that the zip tie stays in place, and zip tie it. And we're going to send the nub to the back, and there we have our leaves. I'm going to make 2 more of these leaves and spread them out on the wreath. I'm done attaching all the leaves. At this point, you can cover the back maybe with another piece of felt, maybe a beautiful lilac fabric. And then let's look at the front. Everything is beautiful. I'm just going to make sure that I straighten everything out. Maybe I need to move a petal back and forth. This is when I'm going to do it using the same color of decorative mesh as our Deco mesh. Gives this elegance to this beautiful, beautiful flower. Basics for this wreath are pretty easy. You're going to need a bicycle wheel wreath ring. I get this one at the Dollar Tree. You need a roll of 21-inch Deco mesh, and it needs to be 10 yards in length. Some kind of a green Deco mesh. I'm using a 10-inch soft poly mesh, and then either some 6-inch zip ties or pipe cleaners. Since the Deco mesh I'm using for my rose is a fairly light pink, I decided that I'm going to paint my bicycle wheel. I'm going to be using this Rust-Oleum in Ultra Matte White to spray paint my wheel. And then when that dries, about an hour in between, I'm going to be putting this Krylon acrylic coating on it. It's UV resistant, but the reason I use it is because it does keep the paint in place and I want to prevent chipping on the actual wheel. My wheel is nice and dry. Now it's time to start on our rose. Basically for this rose, I'm going to be using the bubble method and we're going to spiral from inside going outside. The first 5 bubbles, I'm going to make them at 5 inches. Then the next 7 I'm going to make at 7 inches. And then the rest are going to be 10 inches in length. And then 12 to 14 inches outer row. That means the last few petals that we're going to be making, we're going to just open that rose up and make them a little bigger. I'm going to start by gathering my tail about 2 to 3 inches from the edge. And I'm just zip tying it to one of the spikes. I'm not worried about the tail going towards the back of the wreath or anything like that. If anything, it's going to give us volume for that center of the rose. Let's make our first bubble at 5 inches. And I'm just going to start turning my wheel. As I do that, I'm making that center of the rose. So I'm going to twist it until I'm on the opposite side of the first spike that I used. Just like that. And cut that off. Let's get the next petal going. I'm going to bring it in. We're not going to go too far. And just zip tie it where you feel that it fits. Next 5. This is number 3. This is petal number 4, and I'm just going to bring the other one close so I can see how my rose is forming. Play it by ear. You see what looks good on your wreath. When you're making these petals, keep in mind what's going on the previous row. So here I have a zip tie. So because of that, I'm actually going to skip 2 spikes and put it on this one. That way it will cover that zip tie. And roses are layered. There's nothing wrong with layering and just moving those petals around. This is such an easy wreath. There you go. And we're going to just get that rose nice and tight right here. I'm done with my 5-inch bubbles. I'm going to move on to the 7-inch bubbles. Here we are. Here's my 7-inch. And as you're doing this, keep on pushing those petals towards the inside. You have plenty of Deco mesh left. And just keep on skipping 2 to 3, whatever looks good. You're the artist here. I like the fact that there's really no cutting in this wreath. And you can make this and it's going to look so schmancy, and you are just going to have a beautiful wreath that you can gift away or give away. And it's just so pretty. Look at this. Here we are so far. So we just have to pretty much count the first few, and then you just play by ear. If you feel like your wreath needs them to get a little bigger, then do that. Get your petals a little bigger. Here is my last 7-inch, and don't forget, it's all going to get pushed in, and it's going to form a beautiful rose. And now I'm ready to do 10-inch petals. And this is what's going to really open up that rose. And if you're not ready to do a 10-inch loop, you can make them 8, 9, whatever works. This is your creation, your beautiful rose. At the end of the day, we have a full 10 yards of deco mesh. That is a lot of deco mesh to go on a little wreath like this. So you keep on going and just keep on making those bubbles. I feel like my rose is nice and full, and here is my deco mesh roll. I just kind of want to show you what I have left. Now I'm going to go up from 10 inches to 12 or 14 depending on where I'm working and what I need. So first I'm going to start with the 12-inch loops, and then gradually move on to 14-inch loops. Just keeping my eye on that roll of deco mesh because I want to make sure that I have nice big loops on the outside of my rose. Now that my deco mesh is really ending and I know I'm on my last row, I'm going to start attaching my bubbles to the edge instead of the spikes. This is what's left of my tail. One side is about 9 inches, the other one is really long. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use it up. Same thing, 2 to 3 inches in, I'm going to collect it. And then in the back, I'm going to zip tie it. And then this floofiness right here, I'm going to gather and make another tail. Going to put it towards the inside. Roses overlap all the time and it's a little different, but that's all right. I'm going to use up everything I have. And here, I'm just going to grab another zip tie and I'm going to zip tie that in place, and you have an extra little petal. At this point, we're going to do some covering of zip ties. So that's the only time that I'm going to try to open up petals to cover it. As you're making sure that everything's nice, make sure to keep those factory edges, the sides of the deco mesh, hidden inside, and just keep on working to make sure that your rose is nicely filled in. Now to make the petals, I'm going to grab my green deco mesh, or poly mesh in this case, but you can grab whatever green you have on hand. I'm going to cut my deco mesh 3 pieces in 12-inch strips. Now you decide where you want your petals. I'm going to do one here, and one right here. Grabbing my 12-inch piece, I'm just going to gather it kitty corner to kitty corner, just like that. Fold it in half, tuck it in, grab my zip tie, and just zip tie it in place. And there you go, petal number 1. And once again, I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to do kitty corner to kitty corner and just collect it. And then you just cut it together. And I do want to make sure that it's nice and even, going right there, forming a triangle. I have to admit, I think this is the fastest wreath I have ever made using 21-inch deco mesh, because you're just doing little bubbles and you're going along, or maybe I just had too much fun making it and it seems like that. But that is it. I have my beautiful rose. I have some green petals. Open them up, make them all pretty. To cover the back, I'm going to be using a placemat from the Dollar Tree, and I'm not afraid that it's a darker color than my rose. If anything, if it peeks through anywhere, it's going to make it look like a shadow of a rose. So when you have a rose, towards the inside, it's kind of darker. So if there's anything peeking through any of these little places where it can't peek through, it's just going to look nice. So I'm not worried about that. But then again, if you're doing red deco mesh and you have a red cover, that would be really nice. I'm working with what I have, and I know that it's going to look beautiful. So I'm going to take 3 zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie my placemat in place. When you do that, don't forget to take these sharp edges and send them to the back. I'm basically just going to go in between the petals because we have 3 petals. To hang a wreath, I'm just grabbing some jute cord. I made a few knots, and I'm ready to go. And now it's time to hang my rose. Here are the supplies we're going to need for our wreath. We're going to start with some beautiful ribbon and make what's called a funky bow. Now, funky bow is a very easy bow technique. If you are new to bow making, this is the technique for you to watch because this is easy and it makes a very professional and gorgeous looking bow. These 2 ribbons right here, the pink and the light green, I got from Craft Outlet, and this one I got from Michaels. Now, this ribbon is my inspiration ribbon. We're going to pull out the colors from here to put into our wreath. Then you're going to need some wire cutters, some floral wire or zip ties. I'm going to be most likely using both. Then the florals, I'm going to use some of these just greenery foliage from the Dollar Tree. Some yellow to bring out the yellow in the ribbon right there. Some pink flowers, this wisteria. And of course some white freesia to kind of pop it all out. And then I did grab some coneflowers in case I needed a little bit more yellow. For our wreath form, we're going to be using this bicycle wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and this one is 14 inches in diameter. The first thing I want to do is I want to paint my bicycle wheel to a white color. You can also do pink or whatever color you would like, but I want something nice and bright, so I'm going to do white. And what I'm going to use is this Rust-Oleum paint, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of the paint, and then I'm going to come back in with some acrylic coating and give it 1 coat of that. You can either use gloss or matte. I just have gloss on hand, so I'm going to use that, but it really doesn't matter because this is going to be filled with so many florals and ribbon. Let's get started on our ribbon. For the funky bow, what you want is you want long strips, and I usually make 28 inches. So I'll just measure off 14, fold it in half, and that is where I'm going to cut it. I cut 2 of these at 28, and one of them I want to cut a lot longer because I want the tail to be long. So this one's going to be 40 inches long because I want the tail to go in between the florals. I got 2 at 28 and 1 at 40. Now for the green ribbon, I'm going to measure off 14, which means I'm going to be making 28-inch strips here, and I'm going to make 3 of these. I made 3 strips of 28 inches each in this green ribbon, and the reason I did 3 instead of 2 is because it's 1.5 inches in width, so it's a little narrower than our 2.5-inch ribbon right here. And then 1 I'm gonna do at 40, which means I need to find my 20-inch mark and fold that in half. Now I have my floral one, and I'm going to make 3 loops at 28 inches. With my floral one, I made 3 at 28 inches, and then I had a strip left, and this one when folded in half is 16, so it makes it 32 inches. It doesn't really matter, I just wanted to use up my ribbon. You will find that this bow is perfect to use up some of your leftover ribbon, so that is what we're going to do. Now that my ribbon is all cut up, I'm going to go around and make little dovetails. Line up both ends, fold in half, and just cut from inside going out, just like that. Now we're ready to put our bow together. Now you don't have to use a bow maker, it's just easier. You can definitely do this in the palm of your hand. First things first, I'm going to grab a floral wire and just put it in between the dowels. And I'm actually just going to put this right underneath there so it's not in our way. I'm going to start with the longest ribbon that we have, and because I have 4 of these and 4 of these, I'm going to start with them. Going to just grab my green, measure a 6-inch loop, and just leave it right there. Then I'm going to take my next ribbon, let me just put it in the order that I'm doing this in. My next ribbon, I'm going to put it upside down, get my 6 inches right there, and just put it down. If you're going to use the palm of your hand, you just measure out your 6 inches and put it in the palm of your hand. You measure out 6 inches and just put it upside down right there in your hand. I personally like using my bow maker, so I'm just going to do that. Next, I'm going to grab my pink one. This is another 40-inch one, and of course, since I have the loop going this way, this loop is going to come this way, and I have my 6 inches, and I'm going to put it down. And then I'm just going to continue doing this, going all the way down. One loop facing one way, the other loop facing the other way, and there's your funky bow. Now I just grab my floral wire, put my bow maker to the side. I'm going to flip my bow and just tie my wire and just make it nice and tight. And this bow is pretty much ready to go on our wreath. I'm going to put this to the side, and I'm going to bring our bicycle wheel out. The reason I do my bow first is because I want to see where my florals are gonna go, and the reason I have my tails is because I want the tails to go in between the florals a little bit. Before I start sorting the bow, what I'm going to do is I have these 2 long ones. So I'm going to grab a pink long one and just move it down, and one green one, and I'm going to flip that down. That way we have a long pink one and green one going along our wreath. I'm going to grab 2 pieces of the foliage because we just want it to be just a little bit right here. And because it's from Dollar Tree and it's all bent funny, I'm just going to see which one fits well where. So obviously this one will work better here. Let me just bend it a little bit. And then this one, the way it's bent, it's going to work better coming from this side. So there we go. We have our start. We have the greenery. Next, I'm going to grab the wisteria, and they come 4 on each bushel. And I just like arranging it straight on a wreath form. So I have 2 right there and then 2 right here. I'm going to grab my 2 yellow freesia ones. That's all I have left on my stem here. Cutting them as long as I can. And I'm going to put them right over the pink. With the freesia, I'm going to put one that's a little higher on our little bouquet, one that is a little lower, and it's going to help this kind of cascading look. Then I'm going to grab this yellow flower that I have, and I'm just going to grab 1 of each. This flower right here is quite a tall flower, so what you want to do is right here, you want to bend it. If you feel like your florals are not secured on the stem, definitely give it a dot of hot glue. And I'm going to put this yellow on top here. Same thing, I'm going to grab it, fold it right there, and I'm going to put it towards the top right here. I feel like I need more wisteria, so I'm just going to grab 2 more. I'm going to put it a little bit towards this side, this one a little bit towards this side, and if we need more, we can get more. Now I'm going to kind of bundle it up and see where we're at. Now we're going to find a point in the back where all of them connect and all of them can hold on. I'm really wiggling this, and look at this, it's staying in place. When you find that point, grab a zip tie or a floral wire. I like using the zip tie because I know it's not going to go anywhere. And this is a 6-inch zip tie that's always in my description box. I get these on Amazon. I use these a lot on wreaths, and I trust the zip tie. It's not going to go anywhere. And I'm just going to zip tie it first a little loosely to make sure that everything is where I want it to be. Once I have everything where I want it, I'm just going to go in the back and really tighten my zip tie and cut it off. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the top. Now that we know our florals are secured together, we can start arranging where we want them. Then our bow, let's see if we need to go in a little bit. Don't forget our bow is going to get up a little bit. To attach the florals to our wreath form, I'm going to grab a zip tie. I'm going to grab another zip tie, and this one I'm going to put towards the top, and I'm going to attach our little floral to the actual wreath form. The greenery on this end, I'm just going to trim, and then using a zip tie or a floral wire, you can just secure this in place. My florals are really secure, but if you have any doubt, grab some floral wire and just start weaving it in between and grabbing anything that you feel is loose. And now it's time to attach the bow. I like attaching the bow where I have my connection here, and I'm going to go from one side of this wire that's sticking out over here a little bit to this side right here on the inside. I'm grabbing my 6-inch zip tie again, and I'm trying to make it in between right here so that I can have a nice secure connection. And just to make sure it's secure, I'm going to grab another one and zip tie it going from the other side. Cut that off. The endings right here, I'm going to just push them towards the inside so it's nice and smooth on the outside. And now it's just time to really puff up our bow. Going to start grabbing them, spreading the little tails, just trying to puff up all our loops towards the top and the tails towards the sides. Any tail that's upside down like this, you just want to twist, and there you go. If you feel like your loop is just not getting up there towards the center, you take it and then you grab anything that's kind of in its way and do a little twist just like this to push it up. And look at this, it's right on top, and it was one of my last loops on this side. If you feel like you want to attach these, that's fine too. Just grab a piece of wire and attach these in place in the back so you know it'll stay on that side. I'm just talking about the two longest ones. If you want, you can definitely, for example, if you want to attach this one here, you can hide it behind the greenery and just grab a little floral wire, just a little piece, and where you have that little crunch that you want to bring together, put a wire around it and attach it either to the greenery or preferably to the wreath itself. In this instance, I'm going to attach it to the greenery. There you go. You know that's not going to go anywhere now. And just keep on playing with the bow until it's where you want it to be. And you can either hang this wreath on the side just like this, or going from top down. That is definitely up to you. Let's go over the supplies for this wreath. I'm going to start with this absolutely gorgeous deco mesh that's 10 inches by 10 yards in length. This should be enough for the flower. And then I'm going to use some leftover green deco mesh for leaves. For the center of the flower, I'm going to be using this floral foam, and it comes with 2 pieces. In diameter, it's 4.8 inches. Floral wire, a bushel of yellow flowers, a pack of pipe cleaners that is close in color to your deco mesh. While it's not pink, it's still close enough in color that it's just going to disappear on the wreath form. I'm also going to be using some ribbon that is close in color to our main deco mesh. For the base of the wreath, I'm going to be using this bicycle wheel wreath base. It is 14 inches in diameter and it's from the Dollar Tree. Let's get started by covering this outside base of the wreath. This is not something that is mandatory to do, but I do want to do it so that the outside row does not show as much. And I'm just going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to hot glue this ribbon in place going all the way around to cover the edge. As I'm moving along, I am going to stop from time to time and add a little bit of hot glue to make sure that the ribbon stays in place. I have gone all the way around with my ribbon, and I'm going to hot glue it in place and cut off the excess. Next, I'm going to take care of our pipe cleaners that are 12 inches, and I'm going to fold them in 3, making 4-inch little pieces. You can definitely fold in half if you want, but the 4 inches of pipe cleaner is going to be more than enough to bring our petal together and to attach it to our wreath base. After cutting our little pipe cleaners, I'm going to fold them in a little V. I'm going to start by cutting our deco mesh. Now this deco mesh is 10 yards. 10 yards is 360 inches. If you divide that by the 10 inches that I'm going to be cutting this deco mesh, that's going to give us 36 pieces of deco mesh, which is going to yield 36 petals. I'm going to be using a standard rotary cutter. This particular one I get on Amazon. I'll have the link in the description box, and you can also find it in my Amazon shop. To lock it or unlock it, you just use this little white button, and then off we go. As I said, we're cutting this into 10-inch strips, and we should get 36 of these at the end. My petals are all cut. I'm going to grab my tempered glass, and I'm also going to grab a wood burning tool. I promised this was going to be a zero fray wreath, and I meant that. Grabbing my green deco mesh, I'm going to measure off 12 inches, and then I'm going to fold it in half, factory edge to factory edge. Grab a little clamp. If you don't have a heating tool, then just use a rotary cutter. Not a big deal. This is just a way that I'm going to make sure that the leaves don't fray. And you know what? If they do fray and you keep your wreath, you could just make a few more petals later. So not a big deal. And now we're going to cut where it's overlapping. And I'm doing it about an inch from the edge of the overlap. Take our clamps off. Do a little twist. You're going to have about a 3-inch little corner. Bring it together. Overlap it like that. Grabbing a zip tie. And I'm zip tying about 1/2 inch from the edge, just so the little petal holds in place. Just like that. I'm going to make 2 more of these. Let's make our petals. Our deco mesh pieces are 10 inches by 10 inches. So we're going to grab our cut edge and overlap them. So cut edge on top of cut edge. And our factory edges are at the top and at the bottom. Now I'm going to collect about 1 inch in. And then at this point, you can either leave your little petal like this, or you can round it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that tip and with my other finger push this middle part in, add this to our little tail, I guess. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to grab this tip, fold this part in, and add this to our tail. And now we have this beautiful rounded off poofy petal. I'm going to grab a pipe cleaner, put it right in the center. The pipe cleaner is going about 1 inch from the edge. I know there's fraying here, but we're going to take care of that. Twist this nice and tight. Anything that's fraying, we're going to cut that off. And at this point, our petal is absolutely zero fray, and it will measure anywhere from 4 to 5 inches in width. A quick tip when you're making these, if you line up the top first, take a little clamp and clamp it about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, then overlap the rest of your petal. Of course, cut edge to cut edge. And now I'm just ready to bring it together. There you go. I feel like it's much easier when you do that. And then I'm bringing in the ends, grabbing my pipe cleaner to bring it all together. And here we have another petal. My petals are all done. The bicycle wheel wreath forms have 12 spikes on them. So we are going to put 3 petals per spike. We are going to do a layer at a time, starting with the outside layer. Then we're going to work our way in. I'm just going to start attaching the pipe cleaners, just 1 per spike. As you can see at this point, the petal is movable, but we are going to do something at the end when we're done with all our petals to take care of that. When I attach petals, I like to keep my wreath base upside down. It's easier to attach these. I'm going to go ahead and finish the first layer of petals, and then I'll be right back. The first layer of petals are on. Going to get that second layer on. Let's twist this in place. And that second layer is going to overlap this little tail area. I have 3 in, and as you can see, we're overlapping the tails and it's filling in really nicely. I'm going to go ahead and finish up with this row. Now we have 1 more layer to go on the inside, and this is just turning out so lovely. I'm putting my last petal in, and now we really have a flower going on. So that we can work on the inside of the wreath, I'm going to push those petals back for now. Grab my round floral foam piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an awl and make 4 holes. Grab my floral wire, and I'm going to grab a generous piece, like a really long piece, so that we can wrap it around and attach it right to our floral foam. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep a little tail on one side, take the other side, pull it through. Here is the foam piece from the back. I'm going to pull, but not too much. You don't want to rip the foam. Now that I have it attached, the rest of it is going to be kind of like sewing a button. So I'm going to keep it steady, find my center, not hard to do when the foam piece is not that big. And then I'm going to take the other end and just start filling it in. And just go around a few times, back and forth. This is attached nicely. I do want to cover this part up, so I'm going to grab a leftover piece of felt and I'm going to cut out a little circle. The best way to do this is actually to fold your little piece in 4 and go from corner to corner to cut out a circle. Just like that, quick and easy. And now we can cover everything up, and that way we can guarantee that all that wire and everything is going to stay in place and our center is not going to move. At this time, I'm going to make sure that all 4 little holes are good to go because we're going to put flowers in all 4 of these plus another one in the center. I'm going to use my awl to find the center. You can use a pen, whatever you have on hand to do this. Now I'm going to grab my beautiful dahlias, take them off the stem. They all look the same, but I'm going to pick the prettiest one or the biggest one and put that one to the side because that one's going in the middle. And now I'm just going to go ahead, hot glue right over, and I'm going to attach each one in the 4 holes. Lots of hot glue on this one also, and it's going right in the center. Now that the center is done, look at this, we have a flower, you guys. I'm going to start pushing the petals in towards the inside, and then I'm bringing back my cutting mat because I want to make sure that my flower petals are centered. The way we're going to keep the petals in place is we're going to use some zip ties, my friends. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my zip tie, and that last petal, I'm going to zip tie it in place. Before I zip tie the petal in place, I'm going to make sure that the pipe cleaner is on this side. Zip tie it in place. And look at this, I'm really pulling. It's going nowhere. And either you make sure that it's in a good place, just kind of by how much you want it to kind of pop out, or make sure you're measuring it on your mat. Since I'm sitting down, I'm just going to see how much the petals are sticking out and then take care of that. Now that we have a beautiful flower, I'm going to flip it and we're going to bring in the green petals that we made in the beginning. And I'm just going to spread them in 3 corners of our wreath. I'm going to attach them using a zip tie, and I am going to attach them to the spikes. Since we have a zip tie on the petal, this zip tie is going to go above so it will stay in place. Next, I'm going to do a little hanging loop. Decide where you feel like it needs to go. I want it to be off-centered just a little bit, so I'm going to go right here. I'm going to use the same ribbon I used on the edges. Give it a quick knot. I'm not going to make it too long because I don't want it to stick out too far from the wreath. So that's as far as I'm gonna go. And now I'm going to grab some felt and I'm going to cover the back with felt. So what I like to do is cut a piece, maybe, I don't know, 6 inches in width, and that one's going to go right there. And then the other one is going to go just like this. Go ahead and cut it. After you have it laid out nicely, I'm going to start by hot gluing the small piece in, and I'm just hot gluing right to the outside of the wreath. And now I'm going to hot glue the other one in. And I'm not putting too much hot glue. I'm just lightly adding it because this is felt. It's going to hold on to the outside edge real well. Grabbing a pair of scissors, I'm going to go around and cut that excess off. The back of the wreath is nicely covered. I have my hanging loop right here, and our beautiful flower is all done. Let's go over the supplies for this wreath. I'm going to be using 1 roll of Deco mesh that is 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length. I'm going to use some felt to cover the back of the wreath. You will need 12 pipe cleaners and maybe a few more depending on whatever your centerpiece is. For my centerpiece, which is absolutely stunning, I love this sign. It's metal, has 2 holes at the top and the bottom to hang it, and I'm going to use a black floral wire to attach it to our wreath base. To decorate my wreath, I'm going to use some of these maple leaves. They come in a pack of 50 at the Dollar Tree, and they usually come in a variety of colors. Sometimes they're green, red, even gold sometimes, depending on the pack you get. But you're going to need just a few, so whatever you have on hand is going to do just fine. For ribbon, I'm going to be using this grosgrain orange ribbon that's 5/8 of an inch. You can get 5/8 or smaller for this project. I recommend grabbing a ribbon that matches your Deco mesh color, and you'll see why in just a second. For our wreath base, we're using this metal bicycle wheel wreath, and this one is 14.5 inches in diameter. Before we get started, I'm going to take the felt that I'm going to use to cover the back and prepare it, because it's going to be easier to cut it out now than when the wreath is all done. Laying the wreath down, and yes, you are going to have another little section. We'll take care of that later, but now I'm going to take an ink pen and just mark where to cut. I think this is going to be enough for the other side. I find that the best scissors to use for this are called Slice. This is not sponsored or anything, but I just find that they work the best when cutting felt. By the way, these are the ones that are the plastic blades, so I'm not sure why they work so good on felt, but in case you're interested, I will link them in the description box below. To prepare a wreath base, I'm going to take that orange ribbon and I'm going to wrap it around the edge. The reason I'm going to be doing that is the outside of the petals could be a little bit on the thin side, and you have a little bit of a chance for this outside layer to be shown. So to prevent that, I'm going to wrap the ribbon all around, and that way this outside layer won't show and you will have a seamless flower. This is really important to do when you're using lighter colors. And you know what? Sometimes I have seen people even spray paint their wreath base, but I don't think that's necessary in this case. I'm going to dot a little bit of hot glue as we're going along. Otherwise, I'm just going to twist, twist, and twist, going all the way around. When you are done, your wreath base should look something like this. To prepare my pipe cleaners, I'm going to fold them in 3 sections. You can fold them in half also, but I'm just going to measure 4 inches, fold them, and just cut. They'll cut real easy. When I'm done, I'm going to fold them in a little V so it's easier for me to grab them while I'm working. Next, I'm going to be using my rotary cutter and we're going to cut our deco mesh. Our deco mesh is 10 yards, as I've said before, which means it is 360 inches. Divide that by 10 because we are going to be making 10-inch strips. That's going to give us 36. We are going to need a total of 36 petals for this wreath. Let's get started cutting our 10-inch pieces. Next, we're going to fold our petals. We have the factory edge, that's the thicker edge, and then we have the edge that we cut ourselves. What we're going to do is bring cut edge to cut edge together, so our factory edges are on the sides. You can do the petal 2 ways. The first way is just to overlap it. With one hand, you're holding the petal in place. With the other one, you're bringing it together all the way in. Now you can decide whether you'd like your petal to be open like this or you would like to bring it in. I usually like to bring them in, so I'll pull on the side and with my other finger I'll kind of pull it in so that we can bring this in. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Find that center and kind of push in the middle and then bring this in. And now you have a beautiful petal. Take my pipe cleaner. At this point, really make sure that you are pushing back on the petal so that you can get a nice seal with the pipe cleaner. 2 twists. You are going to have some fraying going on at the tip. Just cut that off and smooth that out because you know that this part is solid and your petal is going nowhere. If you are having a hard time with your hands, maybe consider doing the petal the second way. We're still going to bring cut edge to cut edge, which means our factory edges are at the top and at the bottom. But when we do the top, what I'm going to do is grab a little clamp and clamp that together. Now we know it's secure and we're just going to start bringing it together. Maybe you're going to need both of your hands to bring it together. That's just fine because it is taken care of on top. So you can definitely do this, making sure you grab both rows. And if one of the rows slide like it did in this case, it's okay. We fix it and we move on. I'm going to take my clamp off. If you want to leave the petal like this, now it's time to put our pipe cleaner on, but I am going to round it off. So I'm going to pull and with another finger, I'm going to push back in the middle, bring that in. Same thing on this side and bring it in. Now the pipe cleaner Make sure you're pushing back as much as you can. 2 twists or 3. And now we're going to cut off anything that's fraying. My tail on here is usually 3/4 to an inch. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining petals. Let's use a clamp. And then we're going to be ready to bring our gorgeous flower together. All my petals are made. This is going to be so easy. This bicycle wheel wreath has 12 spikes. Each spike is going to get 3 petals. But we are going to do 1 layer at a time, going from the outside in so that each petal can start overlapping the next. All I'm doing is just putting it on, and let's do a little bit of twisting in the back, wrap it around. You may ask, well, Nadia, can't I just do 1 spike at a time, do 3, 3, 3? You can, and you can overlap them. I just find this way a little bit easier to lay them out. I also wanted to mention that I'm bringing all the petals from the front and I'm twisting them in the back. The way I know it's the back is you can see the spike endings. I'm done with my first layer. We are starting to look like a flower. And I'm going to go ahead and right on top of this layer, do another set of 12 petals. I have completed the first 2 rows. I have 1 more. The 3rd layer is in, and the coolest part about this wreath is we can bring the flower in as much as we want and push it out as much as we want. For now, the petals are still moving quite a bit, but I always like to take care of that part after I take care of the center. I was going to put in the sign, but I knew that it's definitely not going to go flat because of our tails. I grabbed a little bit of floral foam. This floral foam is the hard type. This is not the soft one that's going to squish. All I'm going to do is put some hot glue right on it and attach it. It's going to give us a little bit of a lift from the center so that the sign is not squished back. Next, I'm going to grab the floral wire and I'm going to cut 2 pieces at about 20 inches each. Folding the floral wire in half, I always like to fold the thinner floral wire just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And 2 tight twists. When attaching the sign in the back, I'm going to wrap my floral wire around that 3rd or that 1st from the inside pipe cleaner. This way the sign is going to be centered. Cut off the excess and wrap it around. Same thing on the other side. The next thing you want to do is center your sign. I'm grabbing a ruler and knowing that my sign is 8 inches, I'm going to find the center and I'm going to hot glue. As my hot glue is cooling, I'm going to take that felt that we cut out earlier and lay it right over. Before I put hot glue all over this side, I'm going to fold it over and do the little one. Hot gluing in place. A nice layer of hot glue right in the center to bring both of these pieces together. Nice and gentle. And now I'm just going to go on the edge and hot glue the rest of that felt in. Besides covering the back, this felt also plays an important role making sure that our petals don't flip to the back, because remember, they are tied around a single wire, so they can definitely flip, but that is going to prevent it. When adjusting the petals, the first thing you want to do is take care of that 3rd or inside row, because we want to make sure that it's going around the center really nicely, and then we can bring in the rest of the petals. Usually when I do a floral wreath like this, I like to put greenery on the edges, but this time we're going to enhance this wreath just a little bit with a few little leaves. And I'm not taking anything that's too contrasting. These are yellow ones. They will stand out just a little bit, but not too much. And I'm going to attach them throughout the wreath. Maybe you want to do every other petal. I'm kind of just laying them out how I think they should look to give it a little bit of softness. I'm going to stretch them out, and then I'm going to add some in between. I don't know about you, but this is giving me really beautiful fall vibes. So let me go ahead and attach these, and I'm literally going to give it just a tiny bit of hot glue to do this. Let's do the opposite side and then work the others in the center. Once again, I started to embellish, thought I was going to put like 6 leaves, and now I have a lot more, but I think it looks so elegant. It looks so beautiful. It looks like an extension of our centerpiece, and I think it turned out stunning. When it comes to hanging the wreath, I'm going to just find my top. There is an area where I did not hot glue. I am going to put a jute cord through there and make a hanging loop. I'm going to send that nub to the back. So today's wreath, we are starting with this bicycle wheel wreath ring from Dollar Tree. I feel so fortunate to have found this. And I do want to make this a kind of a romantic farmhouse look. So I am going to start out with this Krylon pink color, and it's so pretty. And then I'm going to seal it with this crystal clear enamel. All right, I went ahead and I painted both sides, and the side where everything kind of comes together, I have it all painted. And the first thing I did was I grabbed some of my Gorilla Glue, and right there where all these little spikes connect, I just put some super glue right there, just to make sure I have a permanent seal. I'm going to let this dry and then I'll come back. Now I'm ready to decorate my little bicycle wheel. It is 14 inches from the Dollar Tree. It's not as big as you see in the pictures that people sell actual bicycle wheels. So keep that in mind. I always decorate facing my center, so whether you're going to however you're going to mold it, that's the view that you're gonna get from me. We're going to overlay and then use our trusty floral wire to keep things in place. All right, I'm going to start with this fern from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove all the leaves here, and then it does come with this plastic little thing. I'm going to save that. It comes with 6 leaves. 2 of them are lighter like this, and 4 of them are darker, as you can see. So I'm just going to divide 2 and 2, and then you could see sometimes they have their own kind of, you could see which way they're facing. So I'm just going to start laying them out. The green ones first, the darker green, I guess. And make sure they're overlaying a good 1 to 2 inches. And then the lighter ones on top of that. Now I'm going to grab these little spring florals, and I just cut them off the stem. And what I'm going to do is everything that they come with, I'm going to push it up. Because we are going to have a bow, we're going to push that up. There you go. And I'm going to do 2 on each side. I feel like it's time to bring it together before we move on and add more things on here. So I'm just going to snip a little bit of this way. I can see if I need to cut something off, I'll cut it off. All right, now I'm grabbing my buffalo check ribbon. Nice little tail right here. I always like to fold in, fold out. Get quite a bit of this floral wire so I can wrap it around later. Cut the tail. Okay, So with this ribbon, I don't joke around with the tail because it's going to fray. So what I like to do is I like to fold it once and then fold it again and just make sure it's nice and tight. There you go. By the way, for those who can never find this ribbon comes out in the Halloween ribbon area during Halloween, during fall. So that's when you should look out for it. That is where I found, or when I found this one. As I said, this is going to be an elegant wreath. So I'm going to finish up with these beautiful roses, and let's see here, I'm not sure how many we will need. We're not gonna need as big of a stem here. Working them in here. Okay, now I'm going in nice and tight, really tight, going back and forth in that center to make sure everything is going to stay secure. Move around if you have to, whatever needs to be moved around. Now I'm bringing in my bow, seeing maybe I'm going to need a little bit more there. All right, so I decided to add 2 more loops to this bow, and it's not a problem. Look how easy it is to do that. I left a longer wire knowing that there's a possibility of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop it and just start measuring a little bit more. There you go. That's about the size. And I'm going to do 2 loops, which just happen to be pretty perfect. Put them right on top. Find your center, bring it in, and then just crisscross the wires to secure it in place. Now just open up your loops, cut the excess, leave about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and secure it to our bundle here. I could attach it to my wheel, but I want stronger wire for that because that's going to hang on there, and the wire I'm using here is a really thin gauge. If you want, you could put the other tail towards the top, get our bigger gauge. I want to go through the center of the bow because I really want that bow to stay in place. First, do a twist here, nice and strong, and then we're going to go on our wheel. As long as I have my strongest one right here, then I'm going to secure the top and the bottom. All right, so I decided to actually have the bow on top because when I started to put the signs that I want to use, it works better. So option number 1 is Farmer's Market, and I think it looks so pretty, just like this. Option 2 is this Fresh Flower Market, and I'm going to go just above the center because we do want to make sure that center is showing. But I'm thinking this sign would work a little better because of the elegant greens kind of that are also in here, and we have beautiful flowers in here, so I thought this would just, it works better with the theme. So I ended up going with this sign. In the back, it has this little loop. I cut the loop in half because I figure I can use it as extra security. Just looking to see where I need to tie and where I need to hot glue right there. I'm just going right above the center. I think one is going to go right here and the other one's going to go right here. I'm going to cut my chenille stem in half. I'm going to let this cool and I'll be right back. I'm just twisting the sides in place. I just gave a good dollop of hot glue right here. And I think that's it. I'm just going to, as soon as that dries, I'm going to go back, poof things out here, and our wreath is done. And I'm glad I went with this one instead of the black and white Farmer's Market because this is more of a softer kind of, you know, look that I was going for. I was going for kind of like a romantic farmhouse. And I think I achieved it with this. What do you guys think? Let me know in the description box below. Today I'm using another one of these bicycle wheels from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start by giving it 2 coats of this Krylon paint and primer spray paint, and then I'm going to seal it with this crystal clear enamel, and this one's by Rust-Oleum. All right, not all of these wreaths are created equal. The last one I had, all of these, not all of these, but some of them were kind of on the looser end. But this one looks really good. So always take a look at this before you actually start working on your wreath. And if it's on the looser side, just grab some super glue and just pour a layer going around a little bit so you can seal all of those in. All right, as you can tell, I have a beautiful white wheel here. And we're gonna do something way different today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these pipe cleaners. There are 12 spikes, so I grabbed 6 of these pipe cleaners from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut them in half. For my deco mesh today, I will be using this kind of light green. I got this during Easter, I believe, and a white. The first thing I want to do is I want to roll out my green, and then right on top of it, we're going to put the white. We're going to start by bringing both of these together. They're layered one on top of the other. That's fine. We're going to bring it together, and I'm going to just lay it right on top of an intersection. Grab a chenille wire or a pipe cleaner, and we're going to give it a good twist or two. If you're more comfortable using zip ties, go ahead and use them. You know I love them. We're going to hide this a little later, don't worry about this. But what we're going to do here is, as you saw, my pipe cleaner went up instead of down. That's because we are going to add a decoration on top of here. For the length of my little loops that I'll be doing, I'm basically going a spike and a half, or a section and a half. There's my half. And then I'm going to bring it in right here. So I go all the way over here and I just bring it in over here. It gives it just a little bit of a little poof, and that's all we need. We're not going to be opening this, nothing. This is just going to be a little bit of a decor. I think it's going to be so pretty. And because it's sliding, we're gonna take one of these, push it back, and kind of seal it in place, and then just give it a twist. I'm gonna do another one. We're gonna do a section and a half, and then we're going to bring it in. We're going to tie it. And now, just to make sure it's sealed, if my pipe cleaner came from this side, I'm going to take my chenille wire coming this side and then twist it again. I really want to make sure that it does not move from this section. So you could see it better. I have it on both sides, kind of. Do you see? This is to secure and to make sure that it's not going to be slipping and sliding. And then since we are on this side, this longer piece is gonna go around the other side, and we are sealed in. And I actually don't want the green to show too much. I'm going to be like shoving it in a little bit. I want the white to show more. And I want the green to be softer, I think is what I'm trying to say here. And so here I'm coming to the end. I'm still gonna do 1.5. And I'm going to go right in this one. I'm going to actually undo this one and then put it in here. For decor, I'm going to be using this little jar. Okay, to decorate, we're going to take these hydrangeas. And here's the reason I did not mind green, is because one, it's going to look like a little bit of a petal in the background, the greenish. And second of all, they do have a little bit like of a light green inside the little florals. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this stem right here. And then I'm just going to divide it in half. Go underneath here and kind of pull it out. And then with these pipe cleaners. I'm going to crisscross one in one way, the other one the other way, and then in the back. Once again, I'm going to grab a little bundle. I'm going to cut it flat right here. Divide it in half, or as much as you can, because it kind of has 7 stems. It doesn't matter. And so here, we're going to go underneath and up. And then with the 2 pipe cleaners right here, one is going to go around and down one way, and the other one is going to go around and down the other way. And then in the back, we're going to tie it. I gave my jar 2 coats of that pink chalk paint. Grab this Artist Loft silver. Basically going to do the cap with the silver. Next, I'm going to grab some white paint. Going to do the outline, but first I'm going to do basically the other side of that jar. There you go. And I'm going really lightly. This is supposed to look like glass, that's all. And this is what it looks like. So I realized I didn't do any highlighting on the little cap. And I'm just going to go in from one side, here from another side here, this side over here. Doesn't need to be all the way, it just needs to give that illusion. It's very hard to show with this light in here. For the final touches, we're going to grab some of this beautiful Dollar Tree ribbon that we have all seen and hot glue it in the back. And I do have these stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to use this sticker, and I think it's so beautiful. It says, "Cherish every moment, love every moment, embrace every possibility." And I love the fact that it's green, and it's going to go along really nicely with the green that's, you know, kind of peeking through. Grab another bundle of these hydrangeas, and I'm going to cut them down to about 2 inches. So I'm going to grab the greenery and remove all the plastic. Okay, so if both of these are facing up, I'm just going to kind of twist them and lay them over. A little dab of hot glue there. And I'm going to put some of this greenery right here, just so there's some greenery. And just start hot gluing them in place. In the back, you could use ribbon, obviously. I'm the kind of crafter that grabs whatever's in her hands. And so to keep these in place, I put a little leaf right on top of the hot glue, and it gives it kind of like an extra security. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap one of these around one of these. So we have some flowers going to the front. I'm literally grabbing, like, dividing it in half. There you go. That's more like it. I'm going to do it one more time to the side one over here. All of this mess right here, I won't be able to sleep at night. So I'm going to cover it. It doesn't matter with what. You just want to cover it so it doesn't look just monstrous. And this is just a piece of an old t-shirt that I kind of keep around for whatever purposes. And I'm just going to seal it in. Okay, I'm doing this for myself. That's why I just grabbed whatever I had on hand. But if I was actually gifting this or selling it or something of that sort, I would definitely use a nice white fabric in the back and cover that with a white fabric. The greenery, I kind of moved from in the back because it kind of looked like it fanned out to just peeking through right here. Here and there, kind of just peeking through. All right, so on here, I kind of hold it in place where I want it to go, and I'm going to just mark where I want to connect it. So it goes around the center. That's going to be a nice strong hold. And then I'll do one right here and one right here. So we're going to do it right in the center and on 2 sides. Before we go over the supplies for this wreath, yes, I do sound funny. I have a little bit of laryngitis going on, but that is not going to stop us from making this a beautiful floral wreath. So first things first, the center for the flower that I'm going to be using is from Hobby Lobby, and original price is $3.99. Very, very nice, very simple. It's foam, it's not that thick. And because our leaves are going to be a little bit on the flat side, I wanted something that was on the flatter end. For my deco mesh, I'm going to be using 21-inch deco mesh by 10 yards. You can also mix and match the colors for this, but instead of mixing colors, I'm going to be using a little bit of this decorative mesh. This I got at the Dollar Tree. I like to put in a little bit of a different color just to give kind of dimension to the flower. So that's what I'm going to be using for that. For the leaves, I'm going to be using some leftover green, and this is that kind of lime green color. So you can just use whatever green you have on hand or whatever green you feel like works best with your main color. Then of course I'm going to use a lot of zip ties. These are the 6-inch ones. I have these in my Amazon store and in my description box. Also, you're going to need a bicycle wheel wreath form. This one I get at the Dollar Tree. For our deco mesh, I'm going to be cutting 10-inch strips. And if you have a 10-yard roll of deco mesh, that's going to give you 36 strips, which means your flower can have up to 36 petals. For this particular method, you do want to make sure that your deco mesh is as straight as possible. So I'm definitely going to straighten this out a little bit. At this point, I'm going to start cutting my deco mesh. All right, just measuring it up. And at 10 inches, we're going to give it a little cut, just like that. I cut up 30 of these orange petals, and now I'm going to move on to cutting up the green, and you can do as many or as little or none if you would like. I tend to do 3. So I'm just going to cut this piece of deco mesh and cut 3 pieces at 10 inches in length. Next, I'm taking my yellow decorative deco mesh and I'm going to cut it into 6-inch strips. Now that everything is cut up, it's time to start adding the zip ties. I like doing it layer at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and put in a zip tie and just a few clicks, just 3 or 4 clicks. And I'm going to do this going all the way around once. Before I start putting on my petals, I'm going to grab 3 more zip ties and put in where I want my green little leaves to go, and I'm going to put those actually in between. So I'm going to put 1 here, and then I'm going to count off 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, put 1 in right here. You can attach, of course, the leaves any way you want, but I do want to get those out of the way, so we're going to start with them. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go corner to corner and collect just like this. And then I'm going to fold in half. We got our leaves. I like to face these down, just like that, and zip in. That's it. That one is done. We have 1 more, and we have a visitor, I see. Excuse me, Simba. So, kitty corner to kitty corner. Fold in half, and there is my 3rd one. Now that that's done, let's work on our beautiful flower, you guys. I'm going to keep my board as it is because it's just easier to find the center. And my 21-inch deco mesh piece right now just overlaps a little bit, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one side towards the center. Then I'm going to grab the other and overlap it just a little bit. It does not need to be 1 inch, half an inch. Just overlap it a little bit so that the sides kind of hold each other in place. That's all. Then we're going to take one side of the cut and the other side of the cut, and we're going to bring them together And now I'm just going to take the edges and line them up. Now that everything is lined up, I'm going to start collecting on the cut edge. And guess what we have here? We have another zero fray petal. I love that. And I'm just going to come on in, grab one of my zip ties, and as soon as the tip is in, we are going to zip tie it in place. There you go. And the nice thing about using this type of wreath form is you can definitely move it around back and forth depending on how big you want the actual wreath form to be. So I'm going to cut that off and make our next one. So far I have lined it where it's just one per section, and we're going to do this first row going all the way around. Here is my next piece of Deco mesh. I see my center through my Deco mesh, so I'm going to bring one side in. I'm going to bring the other side in, overlap it just a little bit, and then we're going to fold in half, cut edge onto cut edge. I'm going to bring it to the side so it's easier for me to bring my petal together. And before I do that, I want to line up all those edges just to make sure I have a nice hold. And now here is the petal. Just bring it in. And I want to say that I'm taking about 1 inch at the bottom, as you can see right here. Put it into our little zip tie. And if you have fraying, that is okay. That is what the zip tie is here for. Now zip tie it in place really well so that you can cut off the actual zip tie, and any of this fraying that you see going on, we can definitely snip it off. Let's make the next petal towards the center, and again towards the center. I find that utilizing your cutting board for putting petals together is such a great idea. I use it all the time for this kind of stuff. Here we go, we overlapped, and just bring both sides together. All lined up beautifully, and now let's bring it together. I'm done with my first outside row. Now I'm going to start on the second row, going towards the inside, and same thing, we're going to do 12 zip ties. What we're going to do is 6 of the orange petals and 6 of the decorative mesh pieces. And so this is going to start giving it that beautiful dimension, and we're going to be attaching them every other petal. Starting with our orange petal, my 6 petals are in. For my decorative mesh, all I'm going to do is I'm going to collect it at the bottom, just like that, and attach it to my zip ties. That's it. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my next 12 zip ties, and I'm going to do the same thing, but where I have the orange petal, I'm going to have a yellow one, and where I have the yellow, I'm going to have an orange petal. So I'm just going to do that going all the way around. I'm opening these up a little bit more, pushing them to the side because I want to do one more layer just like this. And then of course, it's going to be every other. So where there's decorative mesh, I'm going to put in orange petal, and where there's the orange petal, I'm going to put another yellow one, and that is going to be my last layer. All the petals and decorative mesh is on. Now it's time to take care of the center. Once I know it's centered, now we can attach. To attach the center of the flower, you can use some floral wire, whatever you have on hand. I decided to use some pipe cleaners, and I'm going to cut these in half because I want 4 connections, and I'm going to do what I usually do, piece of felt. By the way, we're going to fold these in half, put my little pipe cleaner on there, and then we're going to make some lines. I put my little felt piece right over it. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. Now that everything is attached and dry, I'm going to attach it to our flower. All the pipe cleaners are through. Twist them in place, and I'm just going to fold them down. To hang our flower wreath, I'm just grabbing some jute cord. To cover the back, I'm going to be using a placemat and 3 zip ties, and I'm just going to connect it in 3 places. Connect it, cut the tip off, and send the little tip to the back so we have a nice smooth backing. Now that the back is taken care of, I'm just going to go back in the front and see if I need to just lay anything out. I think that's it. And our beautiful flower wreath is all done. Today we are going to do something very different. We're going to grab this bicycle wheel metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree. I'm sure some of you have seen it. I've made some wreaths with this, and this is what we are going to do. We are going to do something like this. You can use any green deco mesh that you have. And you can use 2 methods for this type of centerpiece. The first one would be curly method, and that one frays a little too much, so I usually prefer using the Woodland method. If you want to know what curly method is, I will insert a link of a video in my description box, but I decided to use the Woodland method to make this. And the cool part about it is you can replace the center with anything you want. Look how adorable he is. He has a little basket, and by the way, all these bunnies are from Home Goods. And then this one would be so cute too. It's a little mama and a baby bunny, but I opted for the other one because I felt like they were a little too low. As far as deco mesh, you can use any green you have on hand. This particular one is from Fall, and it's like a mossy green. It's like a lighter green, and I absolutely love how it turns out. And look at this. This is so perfect for any coffee table, maybe even on an island in the kitchen. It is an adorable little centerpiece. It looks like this bunny is hopping through a field of flowers somewhere. And I don't know. I like the way this one turned out. Let me know how you like it and if you're going to give it a try. Now, let's get started. Dollar Tree deco mesh is 6 inches by 5 yards in length, and we're going to be cutting our deco mesh into 22-inch strips. Each roll of deco mesh from Dollar Tree is going to give us 8 strips. For our pipe cleaners, we are going to use these very fuzzy green ones. I recommend using these very soft pipe cleaners because when they are on our centerpiece, you don't want the bottom to scratch anywhere. And even though we're going to bring them up, and you'll see what I mean in a second, we still want to make sure that anything that touches your tables or your kitchen counter is not going to scratch it. And now I'm just going to cut them into 4-inch strips and fold them in a little V. Let's start making our first woodland ruffle. I'm going to grab one of my strips and also some kind of a clamp or a clothespin will do. And we're going to start by making the first curl. We're going to give it 1, 2, 3 little curls on the end. Make sure it's not over 1 inch. The tighter the curl, the cleaner it's going to be because all that fraying is going to get locked in our little curls here. We're going to take our clamp and just clamp it in the center. Now we're going to turn this around, and because it rolls back, we're going to take something not too heavy. You don't want this to get damaged, just to weigh it down, and we're going to pull it forward. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3 rolls. Now we're going to put our thumbs in the center and we're going to walk it. You're going to just accordion it in right in the center. There you go. Take the clamp off. As you see, when you bring it together, it's going to be about a 1 inch width here. So we're going to take our pipe cleaner, and our pipe cleaner should be on the outside. So our curls are going to be rolling to the back, kind of from the front. Then I'm going to just put 2 fingers right here while holding my pipe cleaner. I'm going to push it back. This is what's going to make our ruffle pop, is because we pushed that back, made it nice and pretty. Now it's time to put all of our little ruffles on our wreath. There are 12 spikes going all the way around, so you're going to need 6 packs with 8 ruffles each to fill all of this in, using 4 in each row. So I'm just going to start, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist it twice, and instead of folding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it around, finish it off in the front, because I want this to be as flat as possible and to make sure there's no endings on here so we don't scratch our coffee tables or wherever you're going to put this. And I find it easier just to work from the back. This is filling in so nicely, and as you can tell, my actual pipe cleaner is quite a different color green than my Deco mesh. And look at this, you cannot see it when it's all together like this. Don't forget that in the middle right here is going to be our centerpiece, so don't worry about that. Just continue putting 4 all around. I'm going to finish this and I'll be right back. I'm done filling in all the Deco mesh, and I have my little bunny. This is what I'm going to put as a centerpiece. I got him for $7.99 at Home Goods. I think he's just so adorable. Open up the center, put him in there. He is nice and secure. All the mesh is holding him in place. And now we're just going to do finishing touches. And I'm going to grab this dripping blossom, but you can get any flower. And I'm just going to shove these flowers all throughout our centerpiece. I want to make it look like this bunny is just hopping along in a field of flowers and grass and just having a good old time.
I hope you enjoyed all of these wreath tutorials and maybe picked up a tip or 2 along the way. Thank you so much for stopping by my little YouTube corner and spending some time here at DIY with Nadia. I humbly and greatly appreciate you. With that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, my friends. Mwah.